Guys, I'm not gonna lie, I might need a tissue box here in a minute. I have not seen a Honda S2000 CR in a minute, and this one has all the goodies. Brian, why don't you roll that front montage and let's kick this one off. What she does. There you go. Welcome back, guys. It's the most incredible day here in Nashville, Tennessee. It is literally 70 degrees and sunny today. Thank God we are finally at the driving season. One of my favorite roads, we are back. Now, if you happen to be living under a rock and you just don't know what this is, let me enlighten you a little bit. Now, first of all, before I start, I want to let you know I'm a huge Honda S2000 fan, which is what this ultimately is. But this is the CR, the Club Racer Edition. They only came out with the CR in 2008 and 2009, and they only sold roughly 700 a year. Now we're gonna bring on Matt, the owner, because Matt has had this car since the very beginning. He's literally the only owner. He used to work at Honda. He was a sales rep there. He was able to get one of these. It's a really cool story. And as you can see, this is not your stock Honda S2000. Now I daily drove a Honda S2000 in 2012 for about 2 years. I bought it with 86,000 miles for $13,800, and I sold it with 110,000 miles for $11,800. It's one of those things I kind of regret, right? I wish I still had it to this day. Such a fun car, guys. If you don't know, these have 2.2 liter Honda powered VTEC engines. They make 237 horsepower in their stock form. Now this one's making a lot more. We'll bring on Matt and we'll talk about it. But they only make about 162 foot-pounds of torque. However, it's not necessarily in the specs, guys. It is in the driving experience that makes this car truly special. The 6-speed that was featured in these cars and just the overall feeling of the mid-engine, right? The engine is behind the front axle. It's world class. If you are a driver, I promise you there are very few cars that you're gonna get in and have more fun than this. In a lot of ways, it really is like the Mazda MX-5 Mazda Speed that I have, right? It is just, there's just an X factor about these cars. Now this particular CR, well, it's pretty much a completely new vehicle at this point. HKS parts, front and rear big brake kit, right? It's got a lot of body parts. It's running 285 rear tires and 245 front tires, right? 18-inch wheels. It's just got all the goodies. And I will tell you, when I had my S2000, it needed a little bit more spunk, right? If it just had a little bit more power and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, it would have been the perfect car. I've driven this car, guys. I gotta say, this thing is an amazing driver. You're gonna love this video. So let's bring on Matt, and he can tell you a little bit more of the details of this car. I think he's gonna sell this car as well, so I might buy it, but if I don't, I think this is a really good piece of history. I think it's gonna hold its value really well. You're not gonna be able to find a lot of tuner parts as we head into an EV world and stuff, so yeah, I think this is something that's definitely gonna be a fun place in history and an amazing car to keep. So let's bring on Matt, and we'll get into the next clip. Well, Matt, it's so good to meet you, man.
Yeah, you too.
And welcome to Nashville.
Thank you.
Recently came in from California. He's a COVID transplant. My man, what is the story? Like, how did you get this thing? Because these were hard to get even back in 2008 and 9. Now, I know some people say they weren't that hot back then, right? Because it was like the last evolution of the S2000, but I still think they were going over MSRP even back then, right?
They were. The dealership that I worked at had 3 of these cars.
3. Okay.
2 were.
Which is quite a few, right?
Yeah, it was.
Only
We were one of the
700,
higher units for that year, and 2 of them were pre-ordered.
Okay.
There was 1 left. This one sitting on the showroom floor, and yeah, I couldn't say no.
Now they were asking 10,000 over. You told me
they were 42,930.
42,900 was what they wanted for it. Now this car was sitting and it was black. It was black before it was made. It was painted, and we'll talk about that in a second. But you were able to get it, I think, for MSRP.
Exactly.
So after what, 90 days of sitting on the lot there, you were able to talk him into it, huh?
I was good friends with the manager. It did take some schmoozing, but we were able to get it.
A couple weeks.
Yep.
Hey, it's still not sold. I tried it with John. He didn't buy it. Come on, let me take it.
You're spot on.
Yeah. You worked him. All right, so you had the car for a while before you started tinkering with it, I think, correct?
I did. I mean, the car really out of the box was so amazing to drive and so much fun.
Yeah.
And of course, at the time I was younger and didn't have the expendable income to do what I wanted with the car.
Sure.
So I did what everyone does, made it a little bit louder. And,
so exhausted intake.
Exactly. You got it.
Yep. Now, if you guys don't know, the original CR had a few upgrades. So one of the things that I believe it's still stock on the car is the front splitter here, right?
That is correct.
And also, guys, the rear wing. Now, everything else you see at the side here, this is still factory, right?
That is,
So there's a couple of factory things. The interior is somewhat factory still, although the steering wheel's gone. But for the most part, the exterior, the only thing that was CR, which was part of the upgrades, was the wing and the front splitter. They also tightened up the steering rack just a little bit. They did some suspension tweaks as well. They tuned the exhaust a little bit. But that's really about it, I think. I mean, for the most part, I think there was maybe some sway bar stuff they added with the CR.
Exactly.
A little bit, tightened it up a smidge. But in the end of the day, they didn't add more horsepower. They didn't really drastically change anything. So it was the final evolution. However, if you have a stock one of these guys, man, these things are going crazy, right? $112,000. There's a listing for sale. I'll throw it on the screen right now. That sold at Bring a Trailer last year. $112,000. Wow.
It's
what a
mind-blowing,
world, right? Now, you started upgrading yours in what, 2015?
Right around there, yeah, 2015.
And tell us the story. Give us the nutshell. How did you get to here?
Yeah, I was, I'm a big Fast and the Furious fan, and was into car meets, car shows, the car scene. Got involved doing car shows and drag racing events, actually. And the company kind of took off, became popular, and started making a little bit of money, and made great friends with an employee of, at the time, Continental Tires, who said, hey, I want to bring this car to SEMA in 2015.
Okay.
Send me some plans.
SEMA bill.
Yeah, send me some plans. Let me know what you're thinking.
Long nights await.
You got it, and that's exactly what they were, was long nights. And so I kind of got to make my own wish list of all the parts I'd put on this car.
Yep.
And saved my pennies and went nuts right before SEMA. And of course, literally midnight before we're supposed to be there, I'm on the road.
Overnight parts from Japan.
You got
the
it.
Whole thing, yeah.
Exactly.
So what are the highlights of the upgrades? Because I drove this car. We're going to do a point of view drive here in a minute, but just walk us through some of the highlights you think. What makes it special?
I mean, my favorite part of it is definitely the HKS supercharger. Okay. I mean, you mentioned it earlier, the power is kind of the one thing that was always, it just was missing a little bit on this car. And so that HKS supercharger, really the power band is beautiful. It just takes this car to where it really ought to be.
Right. Okay, so you did the HKS upgrades and whatnot. How much power are we putting down right now?
370 to the wheels.
370 to the wheels. So that's over 400 to the crank. Not running E85, correct? You're running 93 pump gas?
93.
Okay. I gotta say that it is a perfect amount of power. Like, it didn't feel underpowered, but it didn't feel overpowered.
Right.
Now, why did you decide to go with the supercharger versus the turbo?
You know, I talked to a bunch of S2000 guys on the forums, and unanimously everybody was really, behind kind of the power band that the supercharger produced, and also keeping the drivability of this car, what it was designed to do, which is, race tracks and be able to handle the teardrop turn and throttle out, and without compromising that, the supercharger really provided the perfect balance of power.
I really agree with you, and I would have 100% done it. I think if you add the turbo, you're going to be constantly over boosting and causing the car to be unstable, right? This is going to sound great and all that, sure, but this car felt so dialed in and so planned. Like it retained a lot of the S2000 characteristics of driving, right?
Exactly.
Now he kept the VTEC changeover. If you don't know what variable cam timing means, it basically allows it to put a lot more air and fuel into the engine above 6,000 RPM. So you kept the 6K red line or the 6K
I did, yep.
cam.
I
so
did.
That's cool. A lot of guys do lower that.
Yeah.
So you really got to drive this thing. You know, this is not a halfway car. If you hit it full throttle at 3,000, 4,000 RPM, it's not like a Mustang. It just doesn't do much.
Yeah.
However, when you're at 7, it just screams with the best of them, and what a fun experience it is. About the engine, so tell us a little bit about what you've done to the brakes, suspension, and maybe some of the paint and body. I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, it's running a 6-piston front R1 Concepts big brake kit, 4-piston rear. I'm running HKS Hypermax suspension. It's got a ton of spoon goodies from axle spacers, rigid collars, a bunch of things I did to kind of tighten the frame up a bit. Innovative engine mounts, transmission mounts, differential mounts, and then the paint is actually satin flat. I did it a long time ago. I thought it would.
Before it was a trend.
Yes, it was. I was one of the originals to kind of take the hot rod look into the import scene.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's paint.
It looks good.
Thank you.
It just pops. And you know, while you're talking about, you know, what's going on in here, like all this gold. I mean, this is literally, you said 24 karat
It's
gold?
24 karat, so it's a process called neochroming. A good friend of mine owns a neochroming business, and we wanted to do something crazy for SEMA, something that you just don't see. And they literally vaporize liquid 24 karat gold, and it bonds to a copper coating that's along all the metal parts, and you end up with a gold bar. So
that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
I gotta be. It looks epic, no doubt about it, and really the whole car, man. It just looks great. I love the CR haunches, guys. You know, that's now one of the things, if you didn't know, is this comes with a hard top, which of course you have. We took it off because we thought it looked way cooler with the hard top off, but if you get caught in the rain, like if it were to rain right now, you're SOL.
Yep.
There's no, you know,
drive fast.
Soft top. Yeah, exactly. Drive fast. There's no soft top, and of course most S2000s all came with soft tops. All right, guys, we're going to show you how to take the roof off an S2000 CR.
Latch right there.
Okay.
Latch right here.
Okay. Yeah, I did see that, and those are on the same side, right? Both sides. So that's it. There's 2 latches. That's easy, enough. Yep. Now from there, I assume it's a two-person job, right? It's not exactly carbon fiber like.
If you're really strong, you could definitely do it.
Yeah.
It's much easier with 2 people to keep it balanced.
Gotcha.
It's not super heavy. It's just kind of awkwardly shaped.
Gotcha.
All
right. Well, let's do it. That's easy enough, though. But it just looks awesome with the haunches. And just overall, man, I love the wheels he went with, the stance of the car, the 285 tires. Like, it's a driver, man. It's a really cool car.
Yep.
Really well done. On the interior, real quick, anything to point out here?
It's mostly factory. I wanted to keep it that way. The CR interior came exclusive with a black and yellow suede on the seats, as well as on the door panels, in the shift boot, a steering wheel, which isn't there anymore. But yeah, I really wanted to keep a lot of the interior parts factory. I am running Pro Sport gauges on the pillar, as well as in the single DIN radio dash, Sparco steering wheel. I did do the JDM navigation system because everybody needs a navigation nowadays.
Right? This is back in the day, though, and let's be realistic.
I know.
4G wasn't quite here yet.
It's true.
You know, guys, one of the things that really rocks with these S2000s is the seats. I know some people don't think they're comfortable. I'm 6 feet tall, pretty large guy. I think they're great. I really do. Now, they aren't built for racing. Like, you don't have the ability to throw racing harnesses over the shoulders, so that is one thing. But at the end of the day, this is, I think, approved for most tracks, right?
It is, yeah.
It has the built-in roll cage in it. So,
it does.
You know, for the most part, literally the way this car sits today, I think you can go on it and romp on it at any track and have an absolute blast. The only negative is you got a 3-point harness, but hey, not so bad. You could put the bride seats of the world in, right, and you could really turn it into a race car, but I just think these are great. They're comfortable, and somehow, guys, and we're gonna take it on a POV drive here next. Like, it's actually fun to drive, man. It doesn't, like, the stage 2 clutch wasn't too. It was very forgiving. I felt like the suspension didn't beat me up at all. It still kind of felt like a stock S2000. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's a statement all in itself, right?
It is, and I built it that way intentionally. I really wanted to enjoy driving this car still.
Yep. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed Matt's kind of overview and just learning a little bit more about the Honda CR. I mean, there's only 1,400, I think, of these in the entire world, right? So it's just such a rare car. You rarely even see S2000s anymore. You definitely don't see CRs.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen a CR in Nashville yet, like literally. I mean, I've gone to 100 car shows. If I saw a CR, I'm coming over to the owner and shaking his hand, you know? It's so cool. They only came in, I think, 4 colors, right?
Yeah.
White, blue, red, and black.
Yellow.
Is that right?
Oh, sorry,
or yellow?
black,
so
yellow.
no blue.
No blue.
I know it came in white, I know it came in red, I know it came in black. What was the 4th color?
It had to be the blue, the Fuji blue,
Okay.
I think it is.
I think it was. So anyway, it's just such a rare, cool piece of kit, and you know, I love it, and I'm so happy we got to put it on camera on this beautiful day, and you know, just really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
So, well, I don't know about you guys, that's enough chit-chatting for me. Let's go for a drive. All right, guys, we're in the S2000. Now, to start this car, put your foot on the clutch, turn the key to the on position, and you have a push start here on the left. Fires right up. Got your parking brake. Clutch is a pretty high clutch release, so that is one thing that I do remember on the stock S2000, but overall, clutch feel, pretty amazing. Like, it's not that difficult to drive. Now, if you want to just baby this car, as you can see, all day, you can shift easily to 2,500 RPMs, but you're not going to get any power until you really get it into the VTEC. So we're going to go down some of my favorite roads here. We're in the country. I hope you enjoy. Adjusted, but otherwise this thing is dialed in. The exhaust is just absolutely perfect in this car. Not too loud, no backfires. Very adult, I like it a lot. Oh yeah, is that nice balanced? Drivability is just it's kind of the best car ever. Brakes feel amazing. It's perfect, man. It's a great car. What more do you want? You know, it doesn't have all the power in the world, but it's just the right amount of usable power. And that's what makes it so much fun. You don't overdrive the car. Thanks so much for watching, guys. You made it this far into the video. We really appreciate it. I love the Honda S2000. If you can get your hands on a CR for anywhere between $80, $90, even $100,000 with low mile stock one, go ahead and buy it. It's a great store of value. I think in an inflationary world where there's so much Fugazi money out there, having physical assets like this is a good idea. It's always going to have value to somebody like me, somebody like Matt, and I just really want to thank Matt for bringing the car out. And it's so cool when you get to feature cars that have such personalization and performance upgrades, right? And see their mythology and how they thought about the horsepower and the drivability of it. To me, that's almost as much fun as doing a review on a stock one, right? If I ever get to review a stock CR, I sure will love to compare it to this, but I will tell you the S2000 just needed a little bit more punch, you know, just a little bit more. I do always remember that, and I always thought if I got another S2000, I'd like to get one that already had a Context supercharger or an HKS supercharger, just so it had a little bit more of that drivability, that fun factor. But overall, these are world-class cars. I really hope Honda makes another one. It would be incredible if they came out with another S2000. Every other manufacturer has come out with their next version of their old classics, right? So why it hasn't Honda, who knows? But either way, it's fantastic. I hope you enjoyed the video, and that is it for us. We'll talk to you later.